Yo, what is up, guys? It is your host, the one and only Sage G Samurai here, back at it again with another part 2. What if Asta had Mihawks sword skills? You guys have seemed to be loving this what if. If you guys don't know, I really posted another part to the what if Asta had the 10 toes power on Great Sage, which I recommend you guys check out the entire series, even though I have the most terrible upload schedule. Like, seriously, it's like 1 month per part. Even though I'm trying to get better like now, because, you know, it's just the fact that school's starting up and everything, and it started taking way more time than ever. Plus, I'm a lot more focused on myself this time, trying to be better. So yeah, I have a tendency to go ahead focus more on myself than on YouTube. I'm trying to balance everything, you know. But either way, I hope you all do enjoy this part of the what if. You guys have been amazing with support. I also would like for you guys who are watching to actually, like, you know, subscribe, because I've been checking the stats, and, you know, some of you guys have just been watching the video and doesn't seem to subscribe. Again, it's up to you, of course, but if you guys were to, of course, hit the subscribe button, it would be very helpful to me. But besides that, guys, let's go ahead and get started with this what if, since I know some of y'all have been waiting for it. So let's begin, shall we?
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do?
Alright, guys, let's go ahead and get started with this what if, and we shall now kick off the part where we left off with Asta. We see burning and destruction going ahead and falling upon the kingdom, as we see Asta running around with his katana. As Asta will be slicing up the zombies that were all around the kingdom, he will be saving a bunch of people in its wake, as he was currently trying to find out the source of the problems. This is when suddenly, of course, a big gale of wind would then shoot out, slamming against a bunch of the zombies, as Asta would then turn to see Yuno. At this, Yuno was on the roof, as he would then look down at all the destruction, as he would then turn to Asta, saying that he would take care of this. At this, Asta would nod, as he then shouts at Yuno that he was going to find the person who started all of this. Alright, using his honed senses, Asta begins to sense around for anything, any sense of danger, any sense of the source of all this energy, until finally he ends up pinpointing one of them, as well as some panic. At this, already knowing that the person was going to harm a civilian, Asta would dash off at incredible speeds, ready to go ahead and face him. Yuno, seeing his rival speed off like that, would instantly smirk, as he was now left to fend off against the rest of the zombies, and he was excited for it. Back with Asta, we would then see a man about to go ahead and, you know, reach out for a young little girl who was crying, until this when suddenly he would then get a ginormous slash across his chest from Asta, as this was enough to not kill him, but knock him out completely. Asta does not hold back. As the man was sent flying, he would be slammed into a wall, crashing through it, as all that was left now was Asta and the girl. As the said girl would stop crying, she realized she was now in Asta's arm, as Asta was staring directly at the wall with a tint of just cold, chilling aura, as he dared the person, whoever was inside that crater, to come out. However, unknown to Asta, that was Rades, pretty much the whole controller of the zombies and everything. And since Asta took him out, the rest of them all already began to fall apart. Like, bro, and to be honest, if you guys were expecting a fight between Asta and Rades, bro has Mihawks sword skills. Come on now. However, this when suddenly Asta wouldn't suddenly sense a powerful magic appearing from above, as this is not that Asta can sense magic, but he could sense, like, you know, the key coming from it, as he would then look up to see 4 shadowy figures then fall from above, as Asta jumps away. At this, each one of the shadowy figures would then turn to Asta, preparing to combat him, while Asta still has the little girl. At this, he'll go ahead and put her down, as he tells her to stay behind him, as well as cover her eyes and ears, to which the girl would understand, instantly following Asta's command, while he goes and turns to the nuisances. At this, the random members of the Eye the Midnight Sun tried to attack Asta, but Asta, all he had to do was pull out a small dagger, making the mages laugh because they were underestimating Asta, only for Asta to disappear and then reappear back to where he was. At this is when the mages would then appear with multiple cuts all over their bodies, as their eyes would roll up in the back of their heads, as Asta had killed them swiftly and easily, as they all hit the ground. At this is when Asta would then turn to the girl, as he goes ahead and tells her to look the other way, to which she would, and then he would tell her to open her eyes, as he doesn't want a young girl like her to see the carnage that he sort of created. At this, as the girl was looking, she would then instantly actually see someone running above, as this is when Asta would look up to see Noelle. At this, Noelle runs over, as she will see the, of course, dead bodies laid out, as she's like, dang, he doesn't play. As Asta, he finally then has a smile on his face, as he will then tell the girl to go to her, as she's a friend of his. At this, the girl would follow Asta's command, rushing over to Noelle. As Noelle would turn to Asta, you could see that Asta was giving her a dead serious expression, whispering to her to protect the girl. At this, Noelle would follow Asta's command, of course, while Asta decides that he needs to start taking care more of the threats. This is when Leopold would then arrive, as he would actually be bewildered by the fact that Asta was able to defeat all these people by himself. At this, he goes ahead and looks at Asta. He's like, what type of animal is he would say, as he couldn't believe just how powerful Asta was. However, this is when, of course, Fuegoleon would also arrive as well, as he would see the mass amount of carnage Asta had created. He's like, wow, he would say, as he honestly couldn't believe it. At this, Asta would then say, yeah, I'm pretty sure I took care of the main threat, he would say, as he pointed towards Rady's body, which was still in the crater, unconscious. As Asta goes ahead and wonders if maybe he had killed the man, this is when suddenly Asta would then actually have an idea, as he would then walk over to Rady's bodies, giving it to Fuegoleon, as he tells him to hold on to the man for questioning later. Fuegoleon, actually impressed with Asta's leadership, would of course nod and agree with him, until this when Asta would then sense Key moving about, as he came from the pile of corpses that was right next to Rady's. Just as Asta was about to go ahead and slash at it, a portal will open up underneath him, causing Fuegoleon, Noelle, as well as Leopold to all shout for Asta, while Asta goes in there with a serious expression, as he orders all of them to go ahead and stay to protect the kingdom, and that he was going to be okay. As for the rest of the Magic Knights, they were all still teleported away, just to let you guys know, and all that left was Asta. We now turn to Asta's POV, as we see him now in the room, as he was confused about what was going on. At this is when Asta would then turn around to see a man who looked sort of like nobility, as he was surrounded by these light swords around him. At this, as Asta goes and sees it, this is when suddenly a light sword would then come at him, as barely being able to slash it, Asta would be able to deflect it just in time, but barely. As Asta was thinking, that guy's fast. As Asta would then begin to try his best to deflect all the light spears, however, currently at Asta's level, he was not exactly able to handle it. However, this when suddenly, as another one was about to attack Asta, he would then prepare to deflect it, only for it to burn a little bit of his shoulder, causing him to go a little bit limp on the arm. This causes Asta to grit his teeth, as he realized that he was not going to stand much longer against this man. As this is when the man once again prepares to throw another light spear, only for Asta's entire mood to change, as literally he would then gain a cold stone expression, as he deflects it with ease. As this is when Asta would then say, interesting, he would say. As this is when suddenly we would then see Asta once again, this time being like, not exactly Asta, more like the version of himself that he sort of created. As Asta would go and turn into this form of his, this is when the light mage would then once again shoot the attack. However, as soon as it begins to approach, this is when Asta would then smirk, as he easily deflects it. As he would then say, is that all? As this is when suddenly Asta wouldn't bring up the katana up, as this is when Licht will actually begin to feel a nervous sweat, as he feels dangerous auras, as his instincts were screaming at him to run. However, sadly it was too late, as Asta would release a slash so powerful that even Licht couldn't dodge in time. As this slash was approaching at rapid speeds, Licht would try to dodge at least, and he was not successful, as he still took a big blunt of the hit. However, luckily he was not able to take the full power of it. But it was enough that the hit was powerful enough that it left a pretty dark cut on his shoulder, as well as it dislocated his arm, causing him to grit his teeth. Dang it, he would say, as this is when he would then turn his attention back to Asta, as he could see that Asta was enjoying his suffering. As Asta was currently right now donning a look of confidence as he stares at Licht, who was currently right now like in pain. However, just as Licht was about to rebuttal, this is when he would then be forced to once again dodge, as this is when suddenly a sphere of like a time sphere would then appear, causing Licht to have no choice but to retreat. At this is when Asta would already understand who the person was, picking up the key, as he would then say, so you finally showed up. At this, standing behind Asta, we will see Julius, who goes ahead and then says, yeah, sorry, I sort of had a little idea where he was, so I decided to scoop it out. At this, Asta doesn't say anymore, as this is when Julius will actually see that Asta's arm was still slightly burned, as he asked if he wanted him to take care of it, to which Asta would then say, nah, I just need some rest. Nodding and understanding, Julius would go ahead and comment on how Asta was actually, he actually landed a hit on Licht, to which Asta's response was that didn't mean it didn't come with a price. As when you look down, we would see Asta's katana, not the black one, but the regular one, the one that he first bought when he became a Magic Knight, as it was actually destroyed by the impact of his own slash. As Asta was silently thanking it for being there for him, as he decides that he was gonna have to put it down. So with that, Asta would of course put down the katana, of course, and everything, as he would then pull out a black one from his grimoire, the one that he got from the treasure room. As he equipped it onto his side, this is when we would then return back to the original Asta, who had a very serious expression on his face, as he was sort of reviewing everything about the fight, things he could have done, what went wrong, and everything he needed to work on. As he would then say, "Dang it, I'm still not strong enough. I'm gonna have to push myself even further." As for that, Julius decides to give Asta a ride back home to the Clover Kingdom, as we now turn to see how things are doing over there. Things are going not exactly smoothly. The Magic Knight captains had just returned, however they saw the threat was already neutralized. Yuno still did that whole spells thing with self, but sadly, he's still nowhere near Asta's level currently. However, as all of them were trying to find out, they would eventually catch word of Asta's disappearance and how he went through the portal. As they all try to think of a plan, this when suddenly they will then hear a voice coming from behind, as they would see Julius, but they will also see Asta accompanying him. Noel, as well as the rest of Yuno's team, all rush over to Asta, checking on him, to which Asta tells them that he was okay, slightly tired, but he was okay. At this, as they were asking Asta more and more questions, sadly, just when Julius tells them that Asta had enough and that he actually got in a pretty good fight with the leader. Everyone was in shock at this, while Asta, he would have a look that says that he was sort of pissed off. At this, everyone wondered what happened, as some of the nobles were expecting that, Asta lost or everything, he needed the Wizard King to save him. But after, explaining the whole circumstance to them, as Asta walks away in frustration, this is when the Wizard King would then speak. The boy landed quite a fatal blow. In fact, the fight could have gone either way, from how I saw it. He would say, as he said that even though he wasn't there to see the complete fight, he was able to see glimpses of it, and that both Asta and Licht were both pretty evenly matched. As this would surprise them, as this when Julius would also state that he would even have a hard time fighting that guy. As this caused all of them to look at surprise at the new rookie, as they all sort of made a silent vow that they were not going to be brought back from this commoner. So with that being said, he would then dismiss them. As for Asta, he would begin to walk back home with Charmy and Noel, as you could see that he was still a little bit sour about the whole event. As he then says, "Come on, I can't believe I nearly... gosh dang it." He would say, as Asta was pretty pissed off about the whole ordeal. At this, Charmy and Noel were actually pretty worried about him, as they tried to get him to cheer up, with Asta honestly not responding. However, Asta made it even more of another vow, as this time, he was going to do everything. This man was going to go all out to become stronger. However, as they were leaving, this is when, of course, Yuno, as well as Mimosa and Klaus, they would all see them, as Yuno would then shout, "Hey Asta!" At this, Asta would then turn to Yuno, as Yuno would then shoot off a ginormous wind arrow at Asta, to which he would easily deflect with the black katana. As Asta would actually realize this was the first time ever unsheathing it. As he would look at it, he would then get a whole new feeling. As he would then say, "So we're compatible after all," as he stares at the black katana. At this, Yuno would then smile, as of course Noel would begin to barrage Yuno with a bunch of complaints, saying that he could have killed them, to which Yuno honestly doesn't say anything more. After this, the Golden Dawn team as well as Asta go their separate ways, as we now move forward with a time skip. Asta had been training himself hard, and I'm gonna say this, during this time skip, Asta got a whole new level of a power boost, and I mean, this man was going above and beyond. Asta decided that first things first, he had to start making peace with himself. As Asta realized that having sort of two people in the steering wheel was not really gonna work. Even if he fell unconscious and could rely on this alternate persona, he just didn't want to. In fact, it made him feel weak, inferior. So to do that, Asta had to face himself. So after a while, as Asta had stayed in the forest outside of the Black Bulls, concentrating, trying to get better, he would slowly but instantly actually begin to merge with his other self, to the point where he was fully successful in doing so. As Asta had lost the alternate persona, and instead, we got a full-on Asta. This time, Asta was able to see more. He was able to think much more clear, as well as his sword skills seemed to get even better than before. No, who am I kidding? They were better. Compared to everything that Asta was previously able to do, this time he was able to do them 100 times better. No, 1,000,000 times better. Another thing that Asta had tried working on was that he tried working on his hockey. As Asta had to admit, ever since that whole incident back at the kingdom where he released such dominating aura, he wondered what exactly was it. At this, Asta began training over and over again. However, nothing really worked because you can't really just train it that easily. So with that, Asta had decided that he was going to take on missions that the Black Bulls were just too lazy to take on by himself, as he would go on missions and missions, fighting different foes, getting stronger and stronger. As Asta, I would say that even though he's not fully mastery in hockey, he's at least made it to where he was not able to make it on command and can use it in like short bursts. As Asta had realized there was also different forms of it. One of them being the Conqueror's Hockey, as Asta had, of course, been using it sometimes when he fights. Another one was Armament Hockey, to which Asta had actually made it to where he can make his blows even stronger, although it does take a bit of concentration and he's not able to use it for long periods of time currently. And the last one was Observation Hockey. As Asta, this one was the most easiest one for him to use, as he was pretty much able to predict any swing, any attack, and he was able to use it on command and use it for long periods of time. So with all that being said, Asta honestly had a lot going for him. Another thing was the fact of his anti-magic. Asta during the time of training had trained himself to the point where he actually decided that he sensed a presence in the grimoire. It was confusing, and honestly it made Asta was very cautious about it, but he decided to go face to face with it. After all, to him this was nothing more than a building block, and he was going to knock it down to continue pushing forward to become stronger. So as Asta enters into whatever this thing was, he would then encounter the anti-magic devil. Standing in front of him would be this ginormous beast, as he was in the world of red. As he goes ahead and looks at Asta, who was smaller than him. At this, as Asta begins to feel the dominating aura of him, Asta steadies himself, as if he was not fully in one with himself, then this would have been a lot much more harder to deal with. But now that he is one, Asta would calmly break through it, using his own Conqueror's Hockey, destroying the world, and end up revealing the true appearance, that being Libe. As Libe was, shown was formed, he was honestly surprised of Asta's strength and power, as he couldn't believe that he was just easily able to just break out of it. This is when Asta wouldn't actually speak to Libe, asking him just who he was, to which Libe wouldn't say, "That's not going to matter for long, as I'm going to take over your body." Seeing that as a challenge, Asta would face Libe in combat much more earlier than he did in canon, as he would actually go toe to toe with Libe and beat him actually rather easy, since Libe never really fought, it was always Asta doing the fighting. As Libe was defeated quite easily, this is when he would then turn to Asta, asking him to finish him off, to which Asta would then say, "Finish you off? I'm not going to do that. However, I am going to ask you a question. What exactly is your true purpose for trying to take me over?" At this is where we get Libe's whole entire backstory. He will go through the entire thing about how he ended up meeting Licht, as well as him growing up, what happened to her, the whole entire thing. To which, after hearing about the entire story, Asta actually feels a little bit of respect to Libe, only a little, as he then says, "So let me get this straight. Your best choice of action was to take me over, then just rush over there," he would say. At this, Libe would actually nod, to which Asta would say, "Then you're a fucking idiot." As he would begin to explain to Libe how exactly he was going to do that. First of all, if Libe was not able to beat him, what chances did he have at going ahead and facing against the other ones? Was he just going to rush in there blindly, shooting a bunch of anti-magic thing that he was going to get somewhere? At this, Libe honestly couldn't rebuttal, as this is when he would then look down as he wonders if Asta was going to finish him off, to which Asta would then say, "Nah, because I'm not that type of person." As even though Asta had grown much more powerful in his sword skills than ever, he has to admit, Libe could be of use, and also was still a nice guy. Don't forget that, Asta was still a nice guy. He is still him. As Asta would actually ask Libe for a sign of friendship, asking that he would work together, and that if he actually wanted to, he would help Libe with his goals. At this, Libe looks at Asta in surprise, as this is when he would then ask Asta, did he have a mother, to which Asta would then say, "No, I'm an orphan." As this is when Libe would actually come to the realization who exactly was Asta, as well as who was his mother. As all he can smile as he then says, "They really are both alike." As he would then get up, shaking Asta's hand, as he then agrees that him and Asta would work together. As we now move on from that moment, things had grown even better for Asta, as after that, his power, his skill, all began to far surpass that of any really rookie that was ever really faced. Also, thanks to Asta's commemorance of just taking on every single Magic Knight mission, he would get the Black Bulls a lot of stars. So much so that Asta was one time called to the Wizard King's, kingdom to get rewarded to a senior Magic Knight, to which Asta would gracefully accept, as he was all for it. As we now turn to the present, we will see Asta, who calmly right now is laying under a tree, relaxing, his katana by his side. This is when he will then be approached by Finral, as after a while, Finral actually asks Asta to accompany him and Luck on this blind date, to which Asta was like, you know what, sure, why not? As Asta goes with them. He honestly just goes over there to make sure these two don't cause any trouble, as knowing them and knowing who the Magic Knight Squad, who they are, there will be trouble. So as the date approaches, each one of them would then arrive, of course. The girls would be, the same ones as in canon, as Noelle actually does follow Asta again, because, she's still on that, like, tsundere-like phase. As this when suddenly they will all begin to have their time, with Asta having no choice but to stop Luck, who was trying to get into a very specific detail about his fights and how gory they are. However, other than that, things are going rather smoothly. Although Asta is not very interested in any of them really, he's honestly just relaxed and having a good time. This is when suddenly a large man would then appear, as he would then actually recognize Rebecca, as he ends up telling her like, hey, if you want a man that bad, I can be it. To which she ends up telling him that she doesn't need him, to which the man goes ahead and gets offended by that comment, swinging at her, only for one hand to stop it. In fact, it was not even a hand, it was a finger. This would shock Rebecca as well as pretty much everyone in the tavern, as also would then say, geez, do you people know any manners? As the man would then say, what? Oh, you're one of those magic knights, he would say, as he begins to make fun of Asta, to which Asta had no whelms. He honestly did not care about this man's opinion, as this is when Asta would then say, I don't even need a blade to face off against you. At this, the man gets angry, as Asta would then continue speaking, saying that all he will need is a finger. This would enrage the man as he rushes at Asta, planning to pummel him into the ground, but Asta does exactly just that. Moving faster than anyone can even see, Asta would appear right in front of the man, as he would then tap the man a small little poke to the stomach. As this when suddenly the man would then be blasted out of the entire tavern, getting sent flying out of it, as everyone looked on in shock. At this, Asta would then turn to the owner of the establishment, apologizing for the mess, as he ends up apologizing to them as well for ruining the blind day, as he decides to go. At this, Finral as well as Luck also were like, deciding like, heck, we need to go as well, as they all decide to leave, except Rebecca then chases after Asta, with Noelle chasing after her as well. At this, just as Asta was walking away with the calm expression, this when he would then see Rebecca run up on him, as she ends up thanking Asta for standing up for her, to which Asta would then tell her that it was okay, and that honestly he couldn't stand people like that. After this moment, Rebecca and Asta really get to talking, as they realize that they do have a lot in common, to which Rebecca was honestly just impressed that someone understood her. As this is when Rebecca would then gain an idea, she actually asked Asta if she wanted to, come by like her own tavern and everything. She actually made pretty good meals as well, as she thinks that the kids will actually be happy to see Asta. At this, Asta agrees to this, as after that he would actually head home. But let me just make this clear for those who are wondering. Nope, the ship is not Rebecca and Asta. Don't get me wrong, they have a lot in common, but no. In the future, maybe I'll make a ship about them two in the next like what if I made. Maybe, who knows, but for this ship I'm just making it solely for Asta and Noelle, because why not? But don't worry, not every single time I make an Asta what if are all the ships exactly going to be the same thing all the time. Don't worry, I'll be making the ships like change each time. There's not always going to be like the same ship, so you guys don't have to worry about it. Alright, moving back along. We now move on to the next day, where we see Asta now preparing to leave, as he was actually going to go ahead and see Rebecca once again. As this time though, Asta decides to test out something new, as Libe had sort of actually shown Asta a new ability that they sort of formed together. As Asta takes out his golden katana, he will then point it up into the skies and says, alright, let's try this out. As this when he would then jump up into the air only to fly off, as he tries his best to control the sword, as this was his first time flying. At this, Noelle, who was watching it all, was actually in shock, as she says, "But he has no magic." As she can honestly say, she was even more impressed with Asta, considering the fact that he, like, even without magic, the man is doing some incredible things. As she would have no choice but to ask Finro for help this time. Back with Asta, he eventually arrived, landing, as he ended up whispering to himself, "Gosh dang, I'm gonna have to work on that later." As this is when he would then actually end up seeing Rebecca and go off to, hang out with her siblings. As Asta was sort of like an older brother to all of them, considering the fact that Asta was kind and he was honestly way more mature than he was in canon, as Asta had played with all of them, including some of the kids who were actually at the church, one of them being Marie. As Asta was enjoying himself, eventually though, this is when suddenly Asta wouldn't, hear bags dropping onto the floor, as this is when all the kids wouldn't stop playing to turn to see Ghost, who had just arrived. Ghost was in shock as he see his lovely Marie. Oh jeez, I'm never doing that again. Holy crap, that just sounds creepy. Alright, moving back along. Ghost goes ahead and sees Marie actually happy, as he would then so straight up out of pure instinct attack Asta, as he was angry that Asta was even near his sister, only for the attack to get deflected, as well as Asta to appear by his side with a black blade directly towards his neck, as Asta would then say, "Do you have any idea what you were this close into doing?" he would then say, with a deadly cold tone. Asta was not an idiot. If Asta was not there, and let me mind you, Asta was holding a kid during this very instance. If Asta was not there, this kid could have been injured, and Ghost had straight up just attacked. For what reason? All because his sister was actually happy and enjoying her time. This one suddenly the sister of the church would then arrive, as she then says, "I see you haven't changed at all." To which Ghost would begin to actually get into pretty much an argument with the lady, telling her like, "Why did you allow my Marie close to this man?" As he begins to glare at Asta as well. At this, Asta gives Ghost an even colder glare, as he was still not forgiving Ghost what he did. Again, if Asta was not there, someone could have been permanently injured, or heck, that beam could have been fatal. Seeing the tension that was in the air between the two, Rebecca decides to split it up by asking Asta if he wanted her to cook him something, to which Asta would actually, agree to this, thanking her for her hospitality, as well as apologizing for this little mishap. At this, she goes ahead and forgives Asta as the kids try to drag Asta away, while Marie decides that, it's finally time for her to go, considering the fact that it was now late at night, and it was time for them to leave. Hearing that Marie was leaving, and hearing the fact that Asta had to spend so much time with her, will throw Ghost into like a stone cold expression, as he was unable to even comprehend what happened. Moving right along as we do so, eventually nightfall comes, as Asta was actually invited by Rebecca to stay the night. At this, Asta of course, agrees to this, thanking her for her hospitality, to which she will once again say that it was no problem. However, this is when Asta wouldn't suddenly get up, calmly begin to walk over to a girl with silver hair that was conveniently sitting down. He will go ahead and actually grab her, lifting her up with one hand, walking over to Rebecca's table, as he wouldn't ask if it was okay for his colleagues to stay with them as well. This being Noelle, as she was honestly blushing and embarrassed at being caught by Asta, to which Asta, he knew that she was following him. He was able to read the key pretty well. And honestly, to say that he was a little bit creeped out would be an understatement, because dude, like, that's straight up stalking no matter what way you put it. But I mean, at least she was not doing anything harmful, so I mean, So at this, Rebecca was honestly surprised by this other girl, but you know what, she decides to be nice and allow them to stay the night, which is all good. So I'm just going to be moving on through all of this, as Noelle was, of course, Noelle and Asta, they got separate rooms, of course, and all of them were staying there for the night. However, this one suddenly Asta would then be waking up at the dead of night, as he senses something is wrong. At this is when Rebecca would then burst into the room, as she'd end up telling Asta that all the kids were missing, causing him to get serious as he bursts back into his attire, getting his black katana as he would then rush out. At this, Ghost had actually woken up to try to attack Asta this time, only to see Asta dashing forward, even surpassing speeds that even he couldn't see, as he gets out. At this, as everyone actually gets out, he would see that every parent was looking for their kids, and only kids at certain ages were actually gone. As everyone was looking around, this is when Asta's key senses would go all haywire, as he then says, "It's the snow, something's wrong with it," he would then say. At this, Asta would then tell the people and order them to put their children inside, making sure none of them get affected by this, as this is when Asta tries to pick up on the key of the others. This is when the sister of the church would also come out. She ends up telling them that all the kids that were younger ages were gone, causing Ghost to actually realize that Marie was not with them as well. As Ghost was actually straight up about to attack the woman, this one also would this time end up hitting Ghost, this time with the blunt of the blade, but enough to actually throw him back and crashing into a stone wall. As Asta wouldn't say, "Learn your manners. What the hell is wrong with you?" he would then say with a cold tone. As Asta was now getting fed up with Ghost. He was literally about to attack an innocent bystander, and literally all for what? For his petty thing for his sister. Although Asta may not understand what it's like to have, actual siblings related by blood, he did care about his siblings that were at the orphanage, and he sort of could understand where Ghost is coming from. But to straight up attack someone, that was not where Asta was okay with. That this also wouldn't turn to Noelle, as she had just woken up, as he ends up asking Noelle to stay here and protect everyone while he goes out to get all the kids back. At this, she goes ahead and was of course worried at first, but also giving her a determined look and showing that sort of skill of his leadership, she would go ahead and nod at this. As this is when the sister of the church would then speak up, saying that she was going to accompany Asta, with Ghost saying that he didn't even care about any of them and that he was going to go after Marie. So moving on as we would now see Asta as he takes out the black katana and flies up into the air, wielding it sort of like Mjolnir, like how Thor does it, while Sister actually got a broom. As Asta is going through it, he would release a bunch of anti-magic thanks to the help of Libe, sort of clearing out all the magic that was on the snow and everything, as they were now able to see much more clear. As Asta approaches at a rapid speed, we would then end up seeing Marco, who was on the ground, which was one of Rebecca's siblings, as Asta would see that he was enchanted by some sort of magic. As he uses his anti-magic to release it, he would then look around being scared, as Asta would of course still do the same thing, giving him his Black Bull's robe and tells him to stay calm. At this, Asta would then turn to the sister, as both of them would nod. Asta would tell Marco to stay there while he dashes off into the cave. As Ghost, she honestly did not care about the kid, he just dashed off for Marie. As Asta as well as the sister would then fly off to go and see try to save the kids. Back into the cave, as soon as Asta as well as the sister had arrived, they will see Ghost already being tired, as he faced off and was destroying millions of these snowmen that kept on reappearing. At this, Asta wonders what was happening, until this is when he would then sense something that completely throws him off. As this is when Asta would then gain a dire look on his face, as his eyes were now shining with a brim of deadliness, as Asta was actually now releasing killing intent directed towards Nij and Barrows, which were both the people who tried to take away the kids and, well, no, just kidnap the kids and steal them of their magic. As this is when Asta would say, "You bastards," he would say as he begins to walk. As he would then say, "You stole their magic." Hearing this, the sister eyes widen and she would see the kids, as she actually does realize that some of them didn't have any magic anymore. As she then says, "How could they?" As she'll rush over to the kids, as she realized that if you could literally some of the magic of this happens, some of the kids may not be able to even regain their magic again. This is when Barrows, who had the magic scaler, would then begin to scale Asta, only to realize they didn't have any magic and scoff at him, saying that yeah, he did it, pretty much confessing everything about the crime. But this when suddenly Asta would vanish right before the man's eyes, as the man's head would then begin to get rolling. As Asta then says, "Then you will pay for your sins with your life." As he would see Barrow's head roll down to the ground, Nij, who was fighting Ghost, eyes would widen as he sees his brother hit the ground. As Nij begins to, literally cry, as this was so disturbing for him that his magic disrupted, allowing Ghost to get a perfect hit in. But this also would deflect the hit that Ghost was doing, as Ghost would then speak to Asta saying, "You're allowing this to slide. You're allowing him to live. Are you going against the kingdom?" he would then say. At this, Asta would then turn to him. "You got no right to tell me what's right or wrong," Asta would say in a very cold tone, as Ghost had lost all of Asta's respect. And it honestly didn't matter how strong he was, to Asta, this man was nothing now. At this, Ghost was of course honestly frozen up by this, as this when Asta would then turn to Nij, who currently right now was unconscious, as Asta had knocked him out. As the things these guys did was borderline unforgivable, and they need to turn him into the kingdom. As now this was over though, Asta would then begin to walk back to the children, who were all still under the spell, as he would release it all with a burst of anti-magic coming from the black katana. As all the kids were now freed, they all begin to panic and everything, only for the sister to calm them down and begin to heal them. At this, Ghost begins to try to make a comment about, Marie should get the best spot, only for Asta to end up hitting him hard enough to knock him out unconscious, as Asta wouldn't say, please, your assistance has been well enough. As at this point, Ghost was now nothing more than a nuisance. As things were finally getting settled down, this one Asta would then read key, as he would then look up into the air with a calculative look, as a portal would then open up to reveal Sally, as she would then appear with a sticky salamander. As she begins to, scream out for Barros as well as Nij's names, she would then realize, that not one, he was killed off, as well as Nij being unconscious and being held up. She would then turn to Asta, and she would then say, "Oh, you're the anti-magic boy. Wanna be my new lab subject?" She would say. At this, Asta would then say, "No thanks." As this one, he would then vanish, appearing right in front of the sticky salamander, shooting it with a wave of anti-magic, slicing it apart. But this when it actually then recovers, she would then say, "Please," as if that's gonna stop my sticky salamander. To which Asta would then say, "Challenge accepted." Blitzing faster than anyone can comprehend, Asta would do multiple dark slashes, combining anti-magic with his sword skills. As this when by the time that he was done, this when the sticky salamander was all completely cut apart. As Sally was of course falling, and she would then say, "Amazing," she would say. However, this one it will then begin to reform quickly, as she would then bring out a dark magic tool, as she would then stab it into the sticky salamander, making it gain more powerful. At this, seeing the amount of power, Asta would then smirk and says, "Okay, then I guess I have to get a little bit serious then. Because if that thing could just recover from nearly any hit, then all Asta had to do was obliterate it completely to where it can't recover even from the smallest thing." And that was exactly what Asta was gonna do. Concentrating his arms, Asta's arms would then gain a familiar darkish mark, as this is when we will then see Asta use armament hockey. It takes a bit of concentration, but Asta is able to hold it in, as this is when he would then bring his hand up. At this is when of course Sally was going to make a comment, only for Asta to slash down faster than even she could even comprehend, even for the sister who barely even kept up with him in the first place. At this, just like that, a ginormous wind force as well as ginormous streaks of anti-magic will then be shot out of the blade, as Sally as well as the sister's eyes will widen, and she will actually be sent flying, as the sticky salamander completely was obliterated by the slash, as there left nothing of it. It was completely erased. The impact was so powerful that I blew a roof through this entire cave, allowing the moon to actually shine above them. At this, everyone was in shock, while the sister just looks at Asta like, "This boy, just who is he?" As she couldn't believe it. In the world destined by those who have magic, one who doesn't is able to accomplish so much. As Asta will put the katana away, as you will then see Sally, however, she was unconscious, as well as she was pretty badly injured from the impact, that she got sent flying, like bro, she got like crushing through the rocks and everything, as she was barely hanging on to consciousness. As she then says, "Apologies, Licht." As this one suddenly a portal would once again open up, causing Asta to ready himself once again. By this point, all the children had evacuated thanks to his sister, as this one Asta would then speak, as he then says, "I recommend you leave as well." At this, the sister was of course very reluctant about it, saying that just because her age she would still be able to fight, but this one Asta would then shake his head, saying that he's not underestimating her strength, but he's saying that the person that they're about to face is something that Asta is going to have to bring all his attention to, and that even though she is strong at this current level and at her current age, there's not much she can really do against this opponent. At this, she already saw Asta freaking blow up. Literally, this man had cut through and literally destroyed a ginormous, like this cave was big, alright, and he literally blew the roof off of it. So if this kid is over here saying like, bro, the fight I'm about to get into is going to be someone who's around my level, she is smart enough to know like, okay, I don't have to be here right now. At this, also Asta makes a comment saying that she needs to be there for the kids, to which she will go ahead and nod, but she does give Asta a warning, telling him that he shouldn't die, to which Asta would then say that he promised that he wouldn't. As she would then rush off to go with the kids, this when by this point Ghost would then get up, as he actually wonders what was going on, as this when Asta would then say, "Go make some use and help the woman protect your sister." This causes Ghost to remember Marie instantly, as he then dashes off looking for Marie, leaving Asta alone, as this when suddenly Licht as well as Voltos had appeared out of a portal. At this, he would then see Sally injured as he then picks her up as she apologizes to Licht for failing, only for Licht to then suddenly turn to Asta as he then gives him a glare, saying that he will pay for hurting his friends. At this, as Asta hears this, he can honestly say that from reading the key that was radiating off of Licht, he was furious, but not for the right reasons. As he can honestly tell that this man, he didn't mean a word to what he said. As Asta didn't say, says a liar. Hearing this, Licht only narrows his eyes even further as Voltos was about to scream out about Licht's greatness and everything, only for Licht to tell him to stay out of it, saying that someone of Asta's level is something that even he couldn't handle. As this is where we then see pretty much a panel up of just Asta and Licht, both of them facing off in a very, both of them far distance from each other, ready to face off. As this, when suddenly, just like that, a light blade would then shoot out of Licht, just as Asta instantly sheaths out his black katana, blocking it. At this is where combat would instantly begin, as Asta would then dash off at amazing speeds, surprising even Licht himself, as he didn't really get to see Asta at his best. As Asta then says, "You probably should have taken this fight much more serious from the start." As this is when Licht would get a nasty slash across his back, getting sent flying and crashing into a wall. At this, Voltos screams for Licht, only for Licht to continue his battle with Asta, as he creates a light whip, only for Asta to begin to dodge it instantly. As Asta was able to read all of Licht's movement thanks to observation hockey as well as ki, as since those two have been sort of helping him out a lot. As when Asta sees another whip about to slam into him, this is when he was able to cut it up with anti-magic, as Asta would then shoot off a powerful slash that it came out as a green wave. As this green and darkish wave will then shoot out, Licht honestly couldn't do much, as to him, to honestly everyone that was watching, it would look like it was in slow motion, but honestly it was going way too fast that no one could really react in time. As Licht was hit instantly by this attack, and he actually got a pretty bad cut across his chest this time. Actually, it was dead close to where it honestly hit the last time, as Licht honestly gets injured pretty badly. At this, Licht gets angry at Asta, as Asta was now standing literally above him now, as he then smirks. "Is that all? If so, I'm disappointed." As Licht gets angry, we will then see him form multiple light swords, as he then shoots out at Asta, only for Asta to dodge them all, fighting them off as he continues to face off against Licht, destroying them, deflecting them, and even giving more and more damage to Licht. As finally, Licht seemed at his limit, and there was not much he can do, except call for backup, as this one suddenly smoke would then set into the area, causing Asta to jump away, as you would then see smoke cover the entire area. Wheeling his blade back into his sheath, Asta begins readying up his ki as well as observation hockey, as he begins to read around the area, trying to sense what was going on. At this, Asta would sense 3 powerful individuals, much more powerful than Licht himself. As this is when we will then see Veto, Fauna, as well as Raya, as each one of them will make their appearance known. As this one, then each one of them would then jump out as they all surround Asta, as Asta was now face to face with all 3 of them, as each one of them were now preparing to jump this man alone. It was Asta alone against 3 of their strongest members, and this put a smile to Asta's face, as all he could say was, "Interesting." As this was the end of this part to the way. Haha, cliffhanger. Gosh, it's been so long since I did this. Hope y'all did enjoy. Not gonna lie, I enjoyed telling about this part. Not gonna lie, all this was really fun. I'm glad I'm sort of getting back into a normal upload schedule, sort of. And I thank you all for tuning into this What If. It was honestly really fun. Give me guys any ideas, type into the comments anything I should do for this What If. What should I add? Maybe, may not add them, who knows. But besides that, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys remember to be awesome all the time, which shouldn't be really hard considering the fact that you guys are always awesome. And besides that, I am Sage Samurai. I mean Sage the Samurai. Yeah, gosh, I screwed that up 2 times. Wow. Either way, moving on. And I'm out. Peace.